reminder, please, all of you, if you could put your phones on silent or switch them off. I know there are a lot of doctors here. You may not be able to switch them off, but if you could just put them on silent. Oh, that's good too. I'm assuring to know. Hi, Farad. Right. Will you just give an audio test?
Hello, good morning. Good to hear that response. Usually people don't respond like this. Thank you very much for being so warm.
The ones in the last row, are you able to hear our voices clearly? Great. Just let us know if there's any problem. So, are we all set? Let me just know when we can. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Smita Sharma. I'm a journalist and it's so good to be here at Geetam University with all of you. Thank you so much for having me over for this conversation with the change maker today who is here on the stage, somebody who needs no introduction, but a man who is multifaceted, multi-talented, and I'm most happy because he's somebody whose original profession was journalism. So he's a journalist and neta. And someone who I think has done a very important thing at a time when our political discourse has been so polarized, our political discourse has been so focused on heavily divisive issues. To bring education to the center stage of the political narratives and discourse is something very, very significant. So we will be talking about how that transformation happened, about Mr. Sisodia's personal journey himself. But just for a quick introduction, Mr. Sisodia, of course, as I said, has been a journalist by profession. He's also been a radio presenter. He's been an award-winning documentary filmmaker in the past. More importantly, over the years, he worked on RTI, the Right to Information campaign. He's worked with different NGOs, was a crucial, in fact, architect and face during the Anna Hazare-led India Against Corruption movement, and has been a founding member of the Aam Aadmi Party since 2013. He has been elected thrice as the MLA from Patparganj in Delhi and has held various portfolios over these last few years, including finance, women and child development, arts, land, and also most importantly the education ministry itself, for which of course he has been honored on different platforms. So introducing to you the Deputy Chief Minister and Education Minister of Delhi, Mr. Manish Sisodia, as our change maker here in Geetam University.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you.
And as you can see, Manish ji, there's a whole bunch of enthusiastic students, many of them who couldn't actually be fit in inside the auditorium, but who will be watching you through the different web streaming platforms too later on. If you could just briefly give us maybe a quick 5-6 minutes of an overall view of your view on how do you want to transform education, your vision for education, and then we will begin our conversation about your own personal life and journey as a change maker.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for inviting me here and being with me for this conversation. I always love to talk to young minds. I always love to talk to students, and they say education is one of the subjects that is close to my heart. Yes, I admit, I confess, and I love it. So about education, I would start by sharing my views on education, and then we can have conversation and maybe more questions and more interaction from this side. In last 7 years, people of Delhi have given us opportunity to work on governance, and since my childhood and my journalism days and my activism days, journalism and activism actually helped me to understand India better than any other profession, because you go to people, you meet them without condition, you actually hear and understand what's happening in the country, how people are feeling, how people are living. So that gave me some understanding of the society and the country. And when I got an opportunity to work in the government, I requested my Chief Minister that I would love if I can get education as my portfolio as a minister. And he happily said that yes, of course, yes. And since then we have been working in Delhi. I don't know if we can say it is transformed, but yes, there is a beginning. In Delhi, I would say we have worked in two folds. One is fixing the problem of education system, and the second is using education to fix the problem of the society. So I am trying to work on twofold. So when I say fixing the problem of education system, it starts from the politicians. For politicians, education has never been a priority, because if you build a school, you get votes after the generation actually is feeling that we are educated because of that school. If you construct a road, people start using that road and people start feeling that yes, this is a politician who is giving something to us. If you spoil the minds, then the reaction and the vote turnout is immediate. So people don't love to work on education in politics, but yes, as I said, we feel, and as a country person, as a concerned person, we love to work on education, so we decided to work on education. So first thing we fixed was, we made education a political priority. If you ask me what has happened in Delhi and what's our contribution, not in totality but a bit of contribution to the national politics, is that education is coming to the forefront in politics. You like it or dislike it, you approve our work or disapprove our work, you find faults in our work or you appreciate our work, but you are talking about education. I am talking about the politicians. So politicians of this country in different states, especially before election, are talking about education. So this is the first problem that we have been trying to fix. Second is about, when it's political priority, then of course when we get governments, it's not priority in governments also. So we doubled the budget, we are having 25% of education, 25% of the total allocation into education, for education every year for last 7 years. And by using this money, we have fixed the problems of infrastructure. It's a work in progress always. Then we have developed certain training programs for the teachers, because usually teachers trainings in, I don't know, in other part of the country, but in Delhi, before 2015, teacher trainings were called seminars. They were never talked about ki ye teacher ki training hai. They were named seminars. Where are you going? We are going to attend the seminar in summer vacations. So we converted them into actual teacher trainings, like we send our teachers to Singapore. Me and my chief minister actually told teachers that, see, we want you to deliver world class, but we understand that you can't deliver world class unless you understand what's happening in the world. So let's see the world, what the world is doing. So we send our teachers to Finland, we send them to Harvard, Cambridge, to Singapore, wherever there is something good happening in education, including IIMs, including private schools in different part of the country, government school, good government school in different part of the country. So we set up some training programs. Then we are working on assessment systems. हम सब जानते हैं कि whatever we write in curriculum frameworks, learning outcomes, whatever we write, rote learning नहीं होनी चाहिए, 360 degree development होना चाहिए बच्चों का, whatever we write, ये बच्चों के अंदर में humanity आनी चाहिए. But ultimately, a teacher, with due respect to all the teachers, and especially in terms of schools, I would say that in schools, teachers do not teach based on learning outcomes set by the policy makers. Teachers actually teach based on the question papers of last 5 years only. So classroom teaching is not depending on the learning outcomes or goals set by all of us, but it's depending on the question paper set by paper setters in last 5 years. What is important is not what to learn, but what is important is what was asked in last 5 years. So we are trying to fix that also. So this is a little bit about what we have been trying to fix in education. Quickly, I'll share something about the second part also, which is, I'll say that fixing the problem of society using education as a tool, as a solution. We have introduced certain curriculums as a citizen of India, as an individual. I have been feeling that education, wherever we are able to deliver quality education, is not delivering mindset, it's delivering skill. Mindset is missing, happiness mindset is missing, entrepreneur mindset is missing, national, I won't say nationalist in the terms where it is used politically, but a team, as a society, as a family, as a team working here, team feeling is missing. So we have introduced 3 curriculums there: happiness curriculum, entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, and Desh Bhakti curriculum. Our attempt is to give a mindset also. Who is the student who is getting say 100 out of 100 in English and 100 out of 100 in physics or chemistry or mathematics, but if he or she is not having a mindset to work, then it's a failure. They fail every time when they look for a job, they fail when they face something, a situation which is adverse. So we are trying to build a mindset also. We'll talk this on later questions.
Thank you so much, I think, for those broad opening remarks, for setting it go. And you know, I just wanted to understand quickly by a raise of hands so that, you know, we can keep the conversation accordingly. How many of you have a fair understanding of Hindi by any chance?
Many,
okay.
Almost
Many.
all.
So some of the conversation bits, maybe, you know, he can actually speak of in Hindi too. But starting with, you know, your own personal life, and then we will throw open the floor for questions. Just, you know, keep all the most difficult questions, please, that you can throw his way. Make sure they're not easy questions at all. Manishji, you know, you were born in a small village in Hapur in Uttar Pradesh. So your growing up years itself, what are your memories of schooling that you went to, of a school that you went to, and how difficult a student were you yourself in the classroom?
I was born and brought up in a village. I don't know if in Uttar Pradesh, in a village where it's almost 60 kilometer, 70 kilometer from Delhi, very close by to, as you said, the town Hapur, almost 8 kilometer from that area. When I have some memories of that stage of my age. सड़कें नहीं होती थी, स्कूल वगैरह तो गांव में ऐसे ही होते थे, हमारे को बैठने के लिए भी वो नहीं होता था. I remember.
You went to a government school?
Yeah, I went to a government school. Private school तो हमें पता ही नहीं होता था क्या होता है. मतलब स्कूल का मतलब एक ही होता था, एक जो गांव के बाहर एक छोटा सा 2 कमरों का स्ट्रक्चर है, that is स्कूल. आज मैं स्कूल की बात करूं और उस वक्त जिस स्कूल में हम पढ़ते थे, मुझे नहीं लगता कि स्कूल की वो कॉन्सेप्ट में भी फिट होता था, बट यस इट वाज हाई स्कूल एंड हम वहीं 5th तक पढ़ते थे. 2 टीचर कुल मिला के होते थे और कुछ टूटे फूटे कमरे होते थे. मुझे याद है कि जब 4th या 5th में रहा हूँगा तो बैठने के लिए ना फर्श होते हैं, तो हम लोग, पता नहीं आप में से कितने लोगों ने वो किया होगा कभी, एक बस्ता होता था और बस्ता लटका के स्कूल में उसमें 2 किताबें जो भी होती थी स्लेट वगैरह डाल के जाते थे. और फिर क्योंकि स्कूल में बैठने के लिए डेस्क वेस्क तो बहुत फैंसी ज़माने की बात है, फर्श भी नहीं होते थे, दरियाँ भी नहीं होती थी, तो हम लोग घर से वो सीमेंट का धोया हुआ कट्टा लेके जाते थे, बोरी, और उसको फोल्ड करके और उस बस्ते के दोनों तरफ 2 फोल्ड करके उसको लटका के जाते थे.
The gunny bags, to put it on the floor.
तो सीमेंट बैग को लेके या आलू के बोरी वाला जो बैग होता है, उस जो जूट का बैग होता है, उसको लेके जाते थे. और उसको लेते जाते, ये मुझे इसलिए याद आया कि आपने गांव की बात याद दिलाई मुझको. तो वहाँ पे एक बार हमें पता चला कि हमारे स्कूल में ना फर्श आने वाले हैं. फर्श मतलब जो दरी जिस पे बच्चे बैठते हैं,
the carpet, the rug on the floor.
हाँ, तो वो आने वाले हैं. तो हम लोग बहुत खुश हुए कि अब तो बस इससे मुक्ति मिल जाएगी. ये रोज रोज जो लेके आना पड़ता है ना, इतना मोटा बैग नहीं होता था, इतना मोटा वो बैठने के लिए लेके जूट का बैठ के छोटा सा वो लेके आना पड़ता था. तो उस वक्त बहुत खुशी मिली थी कि जब पता चला कि अब हमारे स्कूल में भी बैठने के लिए फर्श आ जाएंगे, उनको फर्श बोलते थे. वहाँ से जर्नी शुरू हुई. उसके बाद करते करते वहाँ गांव में तो बस यही पता था कुछ इंजीनियर होते हैं, डॉक्टर होते हैं या कलेक्टर होते हैं. गांव में 3 ही कैरियर होते थे. मुझे नहीं याद कि मैंने कोई और नाम सुना था गांव में, इंजीनियर, डॉक्टर और कलेक्टर. तो और कलेक्टर क्या होता है किसी को पता नहीं होता था, बस कलेक्टर होता है. तो मतलब आज मैं बोलूँ तो बच्चों से बात करता हूँ तो यूपीएससी पता होता है, सिविल सर्विसेज वर्ड्स हैं, आईएएस, आईपीएस, आईआरएस, आईएफएस, बहुत कुछ पता है बच्चों को. कलेक्टर क्या होता है किसी को ये नहीं पता, तो बस कलेक्टर, इंजीनियर बन जाओ, डॉक्टर बन जाओ, कलेक्टर बन जाओ, मतलब सबसे बड़ा आशीर्वाद अगर बड़ों से मिलता था, कुछ अच्छा कर दो तो ये होता था भाई कलेक्टर बन जाना। डॉक्टर इंजीनियर बनने का तो नहीं मिलता
With
था।
the lal batti and the white ambassador, that
Exactly,
being the
exactly,
most important
exactly,
part of it.
exactly.
What did you want to be at that point in time, of these 3 career options that you had in front of you?
पता नहीं, मतलब मुझे तो याद नहीं आता कि
You were busy collecting apples and oranges from the tree. Was that like the collector image that you had?
नहीं, मैं मेरे स्कूल के एज में आई कैन शेयर दिस विद दिस ऑडियंस नाउ, मैं जब ग्रेड 12 में था उस वक्त माय ब्रदर, एल्डर ब्रदर एक्चुअली गॉट सेलेक्टेड इनटू UPPCS, सिविल सर्विस एग्जाम इन उत्तर प्रदेश। सो अब PCS हो या UPSC हो, सब कलेक्टर ही होते हैं। तो गांव में तो हवा फैल गई भाई, मेरे फादर टीचर थे, तो गांव में तो पूरा हवा फैल गई कि भाई मास्टर जी का लड़का कलेक्टर बन गया है। और ऑब्वियसली जब एक PCS बन गया तो दूसरे लड़के को तो IAS ही बनना चाहिए। ये कन्वेंशनल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ए फैमिली की थ्योरी है। तो मेरे ऊपर हर जगह से ये था, ऑलमोस्ट 12th में था मैं, तब 12th ग्रेड में था। तो देख अब बड़ा भाई हो गया है तो अब तो तुम्हें तो कलेक्टर बनना ही, IAS बनना ही बनना है, PCS उसने कर लिया है। पहले तो उनके ऊपर प्रेशर था, मेरे बड़े भाई के ऊपर, कि यार अभी देखो PCS तो क्लियर कर लिया ना, अब IAS कर लेना। तो उन्होंने कहा देखो जी बड़ी मुश्किल से PCS हुआ, भी मेरे को नौकरी करने दो, कुछ काम कर लेता हूँ। फिर मुझे मतलब वो सारा बर्डन जब उन्होंने पास ओवर कर दिया तो मेरे ऊपर आ गया कि अब तो तुमको तो IAS ही बनना है।
So the entire
और पूरी
expectation.
फैमिली, मतलब पूरी फैमिली इन सेंस कि गांव के जितने भी लोग समझते हैं कि कुछ IAS होता है, उस वक्त तक और समझ बन गई होगी लोगों की, तो सबने, तो मैंने ऐसे ही मजाक में बोल दिया था कि मुझे नहीं पता वो कैसे सच हो सकता था या क्या हुआ था। आई नेवर न्यू बट आई रिमेंबर दैट कोट एंड कोट। मैंने ये कह दिया था कि मैं ऐसा काम करूंगा जिससे IAS, फिर बोला क्या जाता था, बोला जाता था IAS बन जाना और बड़ी गाड़ी मिलती है। तो मैंने कहा मैं ऐसा काम करूंगा जिससे IAS गाड़ी भेजा करेंगे। मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था। बट इट जस्ट हैपेंड, आई सेड दैट, आई नेवर न्यू दैट टाइम कि मैं जर्नलिज्म में जाऊंगा, आई नेवर न्यू कि मैं एक्टिविज्म में जाऊंगा, एंड आई हैव नेवर थॉट इनटू वन ऑफ माय ड्रीम, भी मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा था कि कभी पॉलिटिक्स में आएंगे।
So there's nobody in the family into politics
No,
before
not at
you?
all, not at all.
Not at all. So, you know, with all this burden of expectation that because the elder brother has cracked the state level civil services and you should make it to IAS, father was a teacher, Master G as he was known in the village, and so when you decided to go into journalism, that must have come as a huge disappointment to the family. Those days, I mean, for male journalists, I've heard this conversation so many times that half the male journalists wouldn't even find brides because their families would say, अच्छा जर्नलिज्म तो ठीक है बट करते क्या हो? So that used to be a problem.
This happened with me also.
Oh.
As I said कि बहुत नॉर्मल फैमिली, जहाँ इंफॉर्मेशन, नॉर्मल व्हेन आई से इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, नॉट वेरी वेल इन्फॉर्म्ड फैमिली, बट एजुकेशन को प्रायोरिटी देने वाली फैमिली थी हमारी। और जब मैं दिल्ली आया तो दिल्ली आके मैंने रेडियो में काम करना शुरू किया, FM में, you said
0 hour on all India radio.
रेडियो जॉकी। पहले FM से पहले मैंने युवाणी, विविध भारती और ये जितना रेडियो का बड़ा चार्म होता था हम लोगों के बीच में। और ये भी ऐसे हुआ कि पिलखुआ, जहाँ मतलब हम लोग गांव से फिर छोटे कस्बे में आ गए, कस्बे में आके मेरी दोस्ती कुछ ऐसे लोगों से हो गई जो फरमाइशी गानों के लिए ना पोस्ट कार्ड भेजा करते थे। अगर उनसे मेरी दोस्ती नहीं होती तो शायद मैं रेडियो में भी नहीं जाता। तो उनसे मेरी दोस्ती हो गई और वो बोले, मतलब मुझे रेडियो की दुनिया बड़ी अच्छी लगने लगी कि यार देखो ये लड़के हैं, ये पोस्ट कार्ड भेजते हैं तो इनके नाम से विविध भारती पे इनका नाम लेके गाना आता है, लता मंगेशकर का वो वाला गाना सुनिए, पिलखुआ से ऋषि कुमार शर्मा ने ये फरमाइश भेजी है।
I don't think there's an entire generation here that even understands what a postcard is. Have you heard of the word postcard at all?
This is WhatsApp generation. Twitter and WhatsApp.
I know.
And LinkedIn. So चिट्ठी भेजते थे और उनसे दोस्ती हुई। फिर धीरे धीरे रेडियो के प्रति चार्म बढ़ा। फिर मैं रेडियो सुनता था तो एक दिन पता चला ऑडिशन हो रहा है। बस पिलखुआ से उठ के हम पहुंच गए दिल्ली में, आकाशवाणी में ऑडिशन देने। वहाँ ऑडिशन वगैरह दिया, थोड़ा सा कन्विक्शन एंड विद ड्यू रेस्पेक्ट टू द ऑफिसर्स हु वर टेकिंग दैट ऑडिशन पास किया, अनाउंसर बन गए। फिर अनाउंसर बनते बनते फिर रेडियो जॉकी बन गए। रेडियो जॉकी में FM, तो वो विविध भारती वाला एक दौर हुआ करता था जब पता नहीं आप लोगों ने कभी सुना रेडियो, पुराने लोग जानते होंगे, ये आकाशवाणी है, अब आप लता मंगेशकर का गाया हुआ फलाना गाना सुनिए, इसका संगीत दिया है फलाने ने फिल्म से लिया है उससे। बड़ा बोरिंग अनाउंसमेंट होता था। तो हम लोग कुछ नए नए लोग रिक्रूट थे, तो हमें चैलेंज दिया गया हमारे बॉस ने कि ये बदलना है, लोग इसको नहीं सुनते हैं। तो रेडियो में जो दिल्ली में एफएम पहला ट्रायल था, जहाँ रेडियो में उस तरह की भाषा, उस तरह की वोकेबुलरी, उस तरह का स्टाइल यूज़ किया गया। तो हम 13-14 लड़के लड़कियाँ का ग्रुप था और सब जस्ट क्रॉस्ड आवर टीनेजेस वाले फ्रेम माइंडसेट में थे। तो वहाँ से रेडियो शुरू किया गया। तो मैं इसलिए बता रहा था कि जब रेडियो में मैं रेडियो जॉकी बन गया, एफएम में रेडियो जॉकी बन गया, उससे पहले थोड़ा सा मैं न्यूज़ भी पढ़ता रहा। तो जब मैं न्यूज़ पढ़ता था तो मेरे फादर गांव में मेरी न्यूज़ सुनते थे और उनको बड़ा गर्व होता था, हमारा लड़का न्यूज़ रीडर बन गया है। फिर मैं आरजे बन गया। अब वो एफएम नहीं सुनते थे और था भी नहीं, और गांव में बहुत कुछ लोगों के पास एफएम रेडियो था उस वक्त। तो बिलीव मी, इट टुक माई फादर टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑलमोस्ट 4-5 years। वो 4-5 साल तक मुझसे पूछते रहे, भाई तू करता क्या है? मैंने कहा जी मैं रेडियो में प्रोग्राम सुनता तो नहीं, अभी न्यूज़ सुनता था, वो भी तूने छोड़ दी, तो फिर क्या करता है? तो समझ ही नहीं आता था। फिर 4-5 साल के बाद, मतलब रेडियो मैंने 7-8 साल किया, बट फिर मैं टीवी न्यूज़ में एंटर कर गया।
But you went to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan for your journalism
Yeah,
course before radio?
During radio
itself.
रेडियो करते हुए मैं भारतीय विद्या भवन में जर्नलिज्म किया, और उसके बाद में 4-5 साल रेडियो करने के बाद मैं टीवी में चला गया और थोड़ा समय रेडियो भी करता रहा। It was around 98.
So radio was about, of course, bringing in art, culture, music together, and also getting in all these requests, postcard, handwritten postcard asking people are requesting you to play songs, which I'm assuming were all romantic songs mostly. But so when did you realize that you had a nose for news, that you wanted to be a journalist, or that is also something that just happened because you were exploring?
आप पूछते जाओगे, बड़ी बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग एनेक्डोटल एग्जांपल्स आते रहेंगे याद में। I was one of the radio jockeys whom you can say कि we were founder in the radio. वो 15-20 लोगों की टीम थी, छोटी सी दिल्ली में। थोड़ा सा प्रोडक्शन करते थे, थोड़ा एड, जिंगल विंगल सब बनाते थे, कुछ प्रेजेंटेशंस करते थे। तो 4-5 साल में ना थोड़ा थोड़ा ईगो आने लगा था। आप यूनिवर्सिटी में जाओ तो यूनिवर्सिटी के फेस्ट में बुलाए जा रहे हो, कॉलेज के फेस्ट में आपको बुलाया जा रहा है, एंड यू आर रॉक स्टार। रेडियो एक ही रेडियो स्टेशन होता था, अभी तो ट्यून इन करते रहो तो बहुत सारे मिलते हैं। तब एक ही रेडियो चैनल, एफएम चैनल का एक ही फ्रीक्वेंसी पे आता था, 102.6 पे दिल्ली में। तो थोड़ा नाउ आई कैन डिफाइन दैट कि थोड़ा ईगो आने लगा था कि हम तो बहुत बड़े स्टार हो गए यार, जिधर जाओ रेडियो रेडियो, मनीष सिसोदिया बात करते हैं लोग। तो एक बार एक बहुत बड़े साहित्यकार मुझको मिले, हिंदी साहित्य को पढ़ने वाले लोग शायद उनका नाम जानते होंगे, राजेंद्र यादव जी।
तो राजेंद्र
कहानी पत्रिका, साहित्य पढ़ने का, लिटरेचर पढ़ने का मेरे को पहले से शौक था। मेरे फादर ने खूब सारी किताबें ला के रखी हुई थी घर पे। तो मैं कहानी के दफ्तर में बैठा हुआ था, कहानी मैगजीन का दरियागंज में ऑफिस हुआ करता था। तो मुझे जानते नहीं थे वो, मुझे किसी और सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट ने इंट्रोड्यूस कराया। अखबार में मैं लिखता रहता था आर्टिकल्स कि ये मनीष सिसोदिया हैं, ये रेडियो में प्रोग्राम करते हैं। अब राजेंद्र यादव जी बड़े पुराने किस्म के, टिपिकल, जो बड़े वाले, मतलब बहुत गहराई थी उनके काम में, आपने सुना होगा उनके बारे में। तो मुझसे बोले अच्छा करते क्या हो? अब पिताजी का ये कहना कि करते क्या हो, राजेंद्र यादव का ये कहना करते क्या हो, दोनों में अंतर था। मतलब फादर को तो मैं मानता था यार ये एफएम नहीं सुनते हैं, गांव में रहते हैं, ठीक है, पर रेडियो जॉकी मैं था और 4 साल में रेडियो जॉकी के रूप में काम कर चुका था। दिल्ली में जिधर जाओ पूछ होती थी, भाई ये रेडियो जॉकी मनीष सिसोदिया, इनका 0 आवर शो आता है, इनका ये वाला प्रोग्राम आता है, इनका ये वाला प्रोग्राम आता है। तो वहां आपको कोई आदमी दिल्ली में बैठ के पूछे कि करते क्या हो, तो ईगो थोड़ी ज्यादा खटाक से लगती है। I remember that.
It's a pin in the ego balloon out there.
So मैंने उनको समझाने की कोशिश की, जी मैं आरजे हूँ, मैं रेडियो पे प्रोग्राम करता हूँ, मेरे वॉइस इतने करोड़ लोग सुनते हैं, दिल्ली के पूरे एनसीआर में 100 किलोमीटर तक रेडियो जाता है, इतना पॉपुलर, ये वाला प्रोग्राम करता हूँ। वो बार बार मेरे से पूछते रहे करते क्या हो, करते क्या हो, करते क्या हो। और रात को मैंने एक्चुअली सोचा कि मैं करता क्या हूँ। बिलीव मी, दैट वाज अ नाइट वेयर एक्चुअली आई थॉट अ लॉट अबाउट मी एंड माई वर्क, कि मैं कर क्या रहा हूँ यार। आज मेरी वॉइस बहुत बड़ा नहीं था आज के टर्म में देखें, पर फिर भी दिल्ली में रेडियो पे सुनी जाती थी, यूनिवर्सिटी में सब पॉपुलर हो जाते थे, यंग में, मतलब खासतौर से टीनेज और यंग एज में आप पॉपुलर हो जाते हो, 4 साल बाद मेरे से ज़्यादा अच्छा बोलने वाला और एक फ्रेश वॉइस रेडियो में आएगी और मैं कहाँ हूँ, मैं तो कहीं नहीं हूँ। वहाँ से फिर मुझे लगा कि सीरियस जर्नलिज्म की तरफ जाना चाहिए। देन आई स्विच टू टीवी।
Yeah, and in those days, journalism was actually serious.
Yeah.
So,
So-
unlike today, where there are lots of questions.
देन आई स्विच टू टीवी एंड फिर टीवी पे जब मैं न्यूज़ पढ़ते हुए दिखने लगा, या न्यूज़ की हम लोग P2C बोलते हैं उसको, कैमरा पे दिखने लगा, फिर मेरे फादर को पता चला अच्छा हाँ अब लड़का कुछ काम कर रहा है, अब उनको पता है क्या कर रहा है। So this was the journey.
Right. So, you know, and at some point I will ask you to channelize your inner RJ, but we will keep it for the end maybe. Coming to then, you know, your years that you worked as a journalist, and did you get disillusioned with journalism that you decided to come into politics and you started working with NGOs that were dealing with a lot of issues of right to information? What was it that actually attracted you to becoming an activist? Because the lines between being a journalist and an activist should always be categorically maintained. More often than not, they get blurred. So what really drove you towards, you know, your next step in life?
एक्चुअली इट्स लाइक चिकन एंड एग। आपके अंदर कुछ सब्सटेंस होता है, उसको बाहर से कुछ एलिमेंट मिल जाते हैं, वो दोनों क्लब हो जाते हैं, इट गेट फायर। मैं कुछ अंदर होगा और थॉट प्रोसेस हमेशा चलता रहता था। जैसे मैं कश्मीर और नॉर्थ ईस्ट काफ़ी जाता था। दिल्ली में पॉलिटिकल कवरेज मैं नहीं करता था, मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता था, नॉट टू नेम, बट मुझे जब पूछा जाता था कि दिल्ली में पॉलिटिकल कवरेज करोगे, तो मैं कहता था मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लगेगा यार किसी नेता के घर के सामने माइक लेके खड़ा हो। तो मैं उसको मना कर देता था, नॉट टू डिसरिगार्ड एनीथिंग, बट मुझे लगता था यार जिन लोगों को हम पसंद भी नहीं करते हैं, मुझे पता है कि वो भ्रष्ट है, मुझे पता है कि वो ठीक नहीं है, पर उसके घर के बाहर में उसका माइक लेके खड़ा रहूंगा, मुझे खुद में अच्छा नहीं लगता था, अपने लिए अच्छा नहीं लगता था, बट ये काम है और इम्पोर्टेंट काम है। तो मैं कश्मीर, नॉर्थ ईस्ट और डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म और इस तरह की चीज़ें बहुत इंटरेस्ट लेता था। नॉर्थ ईस्ट काफ़ी कवर किया मैंने, अनरेस्ट एरियाज काफ़ी कवर किए। मेरे को ये लगता था कि एक स्टोरी मैं करता हूँ और उससे चेंज आए ना आए, एज ए जर्नलिस्ट इट्स माई ड्यूटी एंड जॉब कि मुझे आई हैव टू स्विच टू द नेक्स्ट स्टोरी। उसका कोई इम्पैक्ट खत, और टीवी तो खास तौर से ये फोर्स करता है कि आपने आज जो स्टोरी की सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बर्निंग इशू पे, कल आपको कहा जाएगा वहाँ आग लग गई है, परसों कहा जाएगा वहाँ रेप हो गया है, तरसों कहा जाएगा आप वहाँ पे चले जाइए, तरसों, मतलब आप इतने खटखट आप इन्वेस्ट होते हो। एक जर्नलिस्ट जब किसी फील्ड में खड़ा होता है, कहीं से उन्नाव का रेप हुआ या कोई भी घटना होती है, इवन इफ कमिंग टू दिस यूनिवर्सिटी, एजुकेशन कैसे चल रही है, एजुकेशन कैसे ग्रो रही है, यू इन्वेस्ट योरसेल्फ इनटू इट। ऑल ऑफ अ सडन यू डू ए स्टोरी ऑफ 1 मिनट, 1.5 मिनट, एंड देन यू आर आस्क्ड अब आप निकलिए यहाँ से, नाउ यू डू दिस मेडिकल स्टोरी। नाउ मुझे लगता था यार हम कर क्या रहे हैं, एवरी स्टोरी, एवरीथिंग इज जस्ट ए स्टोरी फॉर मी, सिर्फ स्टोरी 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 स्टोरी, कोई चेंज में तो हमारी कोई भूमिका है नहीं। अब वो इशू खत्म, दूसरा इशू, तीसरा इशू, चौथा इशू, तो कहीं ना कहीं से अंदर अंदर चल रहा था या चल रहा होगा। देन कम्स द मैन अरविंद केजरीवाल। मैं अपने न्यूज रूम में बैठा हुआ था।
Can I just request you थोड़ा सा अंग्रेजी भी इस्तेमाल करें?
So I was sitting in my newsroom, so I got a fax that few people have actually created one NGO, started one NGO called Parivartan, and this NGO is about anti-corruption, to do something on anti-corruption, and profile of those person was one ex-army person, one chartered accountant, one IRS officer, and few others. So in newsroom, you know, when you are sitting in the newsroom, you get a lot of inputs and you have to make some story from it. So I got this just fax news, someone sent that.
Those were again the days when we were not emailing constantly on our phones. We used to actually get physical fax copies for our news stories.
Yeah. So I got a fax, and I think I was having a lean time that time, lean period of some time. So I saw, okay, few people have actually made this NGO. Let me try what are doing. I logged into the computer, parivartan.com. The first thing that was reflecting there, become a member. I registered myself. I was the first member of Parivartan. Arvind Kejriwal called me, let's work together. And since then we are working together. So then we entered into activism. फिर बहुत सारी चीजें, we started discussing a lot of issues. Then I got involved into right to information movement. Anna Hazare ji, Aruna Roy ji, and all these people were.
But you contributed a lot to the RTI Act as it shaped up.
Yeah.
So
I was there, part of the team. Then I was part of the team who actually started using it and showcasing how right to information kind of act can be used to fix the problem of governance. Then later on I found that in 2005 the nation got the Right to Information Act. I started campaigning about this act and the impact of this act in governance. So around 2008 I remember many people were killed who were using right to information to question the almighties. And in 2008, 12 people were actually those people who got killed, whom I trained how to use right to information. I went to Jharkhand, I came to Karnataka, I went to different part of the country, and I remember I trained them how to file right to information application, how to frame the questions, and they filed certain important and certain grave questions to the system, and they got killed. They got murdered. I thought, what are we doing? We are training people how to get killed through these corrupt people. Then we worked on this Lokpal. Then Anna Hazare ji came, and then Lokpal movement came. Till 2012, you can see some of my videos are still on YouTube, and I was one of the biggest advocate that the country should have social voices as strong as political voices. People like us, that's why I said I have never thought of coming into politics till 2012. I was one of the biggest advocate that no, we should not go to politics. If we have a voice, if we have a say, if we have some understanding, we should work as a voice for the people. And I used to advocate for that. But in 2012 when they said we'll bring the Lokpal, we are having the parliamentary meeting. For a movement in a democracy, for any movement like Anna Hazare movement or any other movement, you can't imagine a movement, you can't imagine energy being created through a movement more than that was created during Anna Hazare movement or Lokpal movement, that you force the parliament of the country to call a meeting. That's what happened. But you can't force the parliament to pass a law. Will they pass the law, or will you just mock at you and come out by throwing out the papers that no, look, we don't pass, and we'll call you ki, some of the politicians of that time called us, who are you? You are gutter snipes. How can you ask us how to pass the bill? If you have created political, social voice, under the pressure we can call the meeting so that your energy can get diffused, but we won't pass the law. If you want to pass the law, you become a politician. So in 2012 we decided, yes, here is the time we have to show, and then we came.
So journalism's loss was the political gain out here. But Manishji, now that you look back today, the way, and I remember one of my earliest interactions with Manishji was in Film City in Noida, where all the news channels are actually housed, and they used to go door to door from, basically all the newsrooms and offices. I'm sure you don't remember, but I was in a chai stall outside sipping my tea when he, along with some other people, some other volunteers came in, and they were distributing pamphlets.
I was there.
Making people aware about the anti-corruption movement, what the Lokpal movement was all about. So that's, before the Anna Hazare movement actually shaped up. And those 13 days, I was in Delhi's Ramlila ground, and by the time the movement ended, because I used to be there from 6 a.m. till 11 p.m., I started looking and sounding completely different because of these long hours that we were spending there. But now when you look at the way RTI is being used today, are you disappointed? I mean, there have been such strong tendencies at the level of information commissioners. How do you strengthen it, and how do you use it in, say, something like education to transform the sector itself?
RTI should be strengthened, obviously, that information commission posts, the pendency of applications should be tackled well, because more transparent you are, more you feel like, yes, things would be correct. Maybe when I sit I'm in the government and I see officers coming to me, sir, is pe RTI aa jayegi. Even if I am telling them to do something for the good, they counter me that, sir, is pe na fir koi RTI dal ke puchega. So I feel like, good, this fear should be in the minds, but we should take care of this fear. We have to ensure that this fear of some unknown person filing an RTI and questioning your deeds and financing and everything should always be there in the government.
It will help in, that's at least good to hear. Let me also go over now to our audiences, and I'll come back again to talk a bit more about your journey. Please, by a raise of hands, and there are a lot of young doctors here, I'm sure they would like to ask you about, the question of medical resources. I think the pandemic really exposed one of the key areas where India needs to work a lot, which is about the lack of human resources. You can build hospitals overnight. You can have oxygen cylinders brought in. Where do you raise the human resources? So if you could answer that, and then I'll go over. Can you just raise your hands, whoever has a question? Okay, so I see someone here. If we can get a mic here.
It's there behind the camera. Yeah. Yes, they can see you.
Yeah.
Hello sir, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Sir, I'm Sampath and I'm a third year student from BTech Civil Engineering. And the question that I have for you is, you talked about social voice, which in turn reflects the participative democracy from the citizens. I would like to ask, what is AAP doing to foster this participative democracy in Delhi and also, since you've expanded to Punjab?
Punjab, we have just started. Delhi, I can share a couple of examples where we are working, you can say in participative manner. Every year I prepare budget, and I have serious dialogue with different stakeholders, including market associations, including traders, and then we give an advertisement every year that whatever you want, please suggest us. As an average, we get almost 6,000 to 10,000 good submissions. We study them. This is one thing. Then another thing that comes to my mind immediately is that, especially in education, this participatory democracy method has actually helped us to reform the government school system. We form these school management committees, we call it SMCs. Usually in other part of the country, SMCs are just created for the sake of paper. Principals and few other authorities actually took some name from the parents and they write down. We started creating SMC through elections. In 2016, when we said no, all the parents should be informed that there is something called SMC and we should elect that body and then do something. There was a lot of resistance that parents won't come, ye hoga, wo hoga. And believe me, in 2016 itself, when we had the first SMC election in our schools, the lines, the queues outside the polling booth in the school for SMC election were not lesser than the normal election, general elections that we see. So after forming those democratically elected SMCs in our schools, we then gave funds to them. That SMC without, so funds, functions and functionaries. So we have empowered our SMCs in every school to appoint the estate manager, to have more resources if government is not able to provide teacher of certain subject, and do certain other works with this 7 lakh rupees in each school. So in each school we are giving 7 lakh rupees to be used by the SMC.
Right. You know, it's interesting you brought up that question, and I'll take the next question here, but just yesterday, day before yesterday, I was in Jahangirpuri where the entire demolition row was happening, and there was this elderly person who's an auto driver. He doesn't like AAP. He's not a fan of Aam Aadmi Party, clearly. So he sat there and he was going on and on about how things are not working well in Delhi, and he said, problem है ये आम आदमी पार्टी में ना हर किसी को लगता है उसी की सरकार है, बच्चा भी सोचता है मेरी सरकार है, बूढ़ा भी सोचता है मेरी सरकार है, पिता भी सोचता है मेरी सरकार है, सबने अपनी सरकार बना ली है. That everybody thinks, नाम ही ऐसा रख दिया आम आदमी पार्टी कि everybody thinks that it is their सरकार. So do you have a problem in having too many surveys, too many cooks, or is it a more centralized format for your governance system?
This is what we have chosen. This is what we have chosen to do in our life. It has to be done like this. आपको सबको साथ लेना पड़ेगा. सबको साथ लिए बिना चलाओगे तो फिर exclusive तो, as I said, वो radio anchor ही ज़्यादा अच्छा था, arrogance हो जाए तो क्या फर्क पड़ता?
But you know, there was a question that a lot of people asked when your party was launched. So why is only Aam Aadmi? Where is the Aam Aurat?
These are just words.
It never struck you as to where is the Aam Aurat missing in the party?
It's up to you that how you take that word actually. Admi is not just for a man. आदमी, इंसान, आदमियत, ये सब ऐसे वर्ड्स हैं जो दोनों के लिए यूज होते हैं. हम बहुत लिमिटेड रूप में कई बार आदमी और औरत शब्द यूज करते हैं, बट आदमी हैं, कितने आदमी बैठे थे. अब आप ये नहीं पूछते हो अच्छा हॉल भर गया है, कितने आदमी और कितने औरत आ गए हैं. यू ऑलवेज आस्क कितने आदमी आ गए हैं जी.
कितने आदमी थे?
It's
reminding me of शोले.
कितने आदमी थे? तो
Okay.
thank you.
There was a young lady here. Then I'll come to you, sir, for the question.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Manasa. I've got quite a lot of questions, but I'll just stick to one. So, usually governments, they want to please people, especially of the lower strata, and so they think that giving free sops and everything is going to placate them, and that's how they get votes. How did you convince yourselves first and then the rest of your party to focus more on education? And in the worst event that it did not work, suppose people did not vote and they were like, you know what, we don't want education, we want free fuel, or we want free food or something. What would you have done if your party lost going with this agenda?
Interesting question.
No, thank you for asking this. This is important question that need to be answered actually. In a counter note, I would ask that what should be free and what should not be free? Who should decide? Should a road be free or not? Road is being constructed by public money. Should a bridge be free or not? Should the security be free or not? Should the education be free or not? So हमको जो उपलब्ध है, whatever is available to us, we feel, I mean, it depends on the economic condition of everybody. If I am able to buy food, I would think food should not be free, other things should be free. If I am not able to buy food, I would think, okay, food should be free, but other things should not be free. Roads should not be free or should be free, education should be free or medical facilities should be free or should not be free. जिस आदमी को शहर में आके वो आदमी टैक्स दे रहा है, एक गरीब से गरीब, ये थोड़ा सा ना टैक्स पेयर एरोगेंस भी है, मिसकंसेप्शन अबाउट बीइंग ए टैक्स पेयर एंड देन टैक्स पेयर एरोगेंस को भी समझना पड़ेगा. हर आदमी जो ये सवाल उठता है कहीं ना कहीं उसके बैक ऑफ माइंड में, नॉट एवरीबडी बट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आई वुड से, एक बैक ऑफ माइंड में रहता है हम तो टैक्स पेयर हैं, टैक्स पेयर के पैसे से बाकी सब लोगों को फ्री दे रहे हो. सो लेट मी टेल यू वन थिंग, that even a beggar in this country who is buying a piece of bread or biscuit from market by paying 2 rupees from the the money he begged from someone to survive, he is getting that by paying taxes. हम केवल इनकम टैक्स को जब टैक्स समझते हैं तो हमारा क्वेश्चन का एरोगेंस बढ़ जाता है. जो आदमी टैक्स दे रहा है वो बेगर से क्यों टैक्स ले रहे हो आप? उसको कुछ फैसिलिटी देने के लिए ले रहे हो ना. अब अगर मैं कहूं कि यार अप टू दिस लिमिट 200 यूनिट तक का आदमी दिल्ली में गरीब होता है, जिसके घर में एक पंखा चलता है, एक बल्ब जलता है, एक बच्चा कहीं किसी कोने में बैठ के पढ़ लेता है, एक बल्ब उसके लिए जल जाता है, दैट मेक्स 200 यूनिट. 200 यूनिट तक की फ्री अगर हम दे देते हैं दिल्ली में, ये सोच के कि उस आदमी को जरूरत है, और जो लोग बिजली खरीद सकते हैं उनको ये लगे कि यार हमारे पैसे से दे रहे हो सर जी, आपके पैसे से नहीं दे रहे हैं, उस बेगर ने भी पैसा दिया हुआ है, उस गरीब आदमी ने भी पैसा दिया हुआ है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मेक दिस क्लियर. फिर दूसरा, फ्री क्या होना चाहिए और क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, हु डिसाइड्स, ये बहुत डिबेटेबल है. क्योंकि जिसको लगता है कि मेरे पास इतना पैसा है कि मैं ये तो खरीद सकता हूं, ये नहीं खरीद सकता, तो हर आदमी सोचता है जितना मैं खरीद सकता हूं उतना तो फ्री नहीं होना चाहिए, और जितना मैं नहीं खरीद सकता हूं वो फ्री होना चाहिए. ये एक बड़ा, सिक्योरिटी फ्री होनी चाहिए कि नहीं होनी चाहिए. हम हर चीज के पैरेलल्स क्रिएट करते चले गए और हर चीज को कॉस्टली बनाते चले गए. एजुकेशन भी धीरे धीरे हमारे देश में एक्सेप्ट हो गया. क्यों गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में काम करते हो? मुझे 2015 में बहुत लोगों ने कहा क्या कर रहे हो मनीष जी, स्कूल में आप प्राइवेट स्कूलों को दे दो, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल बहुत बढ़िया चला देंगे, अपनी जैसे चला देंगे, सारे डीपीएस और इन सबको दे दो, क्यों चक्कर में पड़े हुए हो? स्कूल फ्री होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए?
Yes. Just can I take one more, just
Very briefly, because I have a couple of hands that have
sure,
been
sure, sure. Oh, now?
I'll come back to you.
Yes.
Let me come back to you again. Sir, the gentleman there in the green shirt, he wanted to ask something. 1 second, can I just have a question from him and then I'll come to you? Because he raised his hand first. I'll come, sir.
2 greens together,
हाँ, 3 यहाँ पे
different
हैं ना,
shades
तो-
of green.
Okay, I can see the hands there. Don't feel
Hi.
disappointed. I'll come to all those students out there in the back benches too. Yes, sir, go ahead.
A recent Delhi, what about bulldozer effect, Jahangirpur, etc. But thing is, when such distractions are there, atrocities are against the poor. So why Aam Aadmi Party immediately responded? That is going on viral. But of course, my answer is let me find out the things. Definitely, they will support the poor only, not the bulldozer or yogi. But maybe there some reasons, I don't know. But the one lady, Brunda Karat, who attended that time and taken photographs, she become a Jhansi Rani now.
She's from the CPM.
Huh?
She's from the CPM. She's from the
Yes,
left party.
CPIM I know. CPIM I know. Become such a viral and everybody is appreciating. I also appreciated her. So such a way, Aam Aadmi Party also would have attended immediately. But what the reason I don't know. Because until unless we do adventure or front runner, we cannot get that much success. It doesn't mean that I am not blaming the party, because I am one of the party only, Aam Aadmi Party in Visakhapatnam.
Oh, okay.
So what's your question, sir?
I think he's asking.
Thank you for thinking, and it's good that people have hopes from us. We do that or we don't do that or what we do or what we have done or what we have not done can be subjective to discussions.
I mean, are you saying why didn't they go and stand with the people there during demolition?
Yes,
And why did they?
Aam Aadmi Party, I mean political leaders, why they have not attended immediately when it is such a, that is only my question.
Right, thank you.
Because that is more important.
Yeah.
Supporting the victims is very important. By going there or by speaking for them, doing a press conference or doing some other effective way, maybe quote or maybe writing when you are an authority, are different angles of doing that. And we have been doing, and believe me, in last 5-6 days, because usse pehle bulldozer was a word being used on a different context, but since last 5-6 days, we have questioned the concept of bulldozer in Delhi कि ये bulldozer illegal construction के नाम पर देश भर में पैसा उगाने का धंधा बना हुआ है. All the people who are into influencing positions are using bulldozer to raise money rather than actually doing some justice. मुझे आपसे पैसा चाहिए, मैं बुलडोजर लेके आपके यहाँ नहीं भी है मेरे पास तो I have that authority कि मैं आपके यहाँ बुलडोजर ला सकता हूँ. I'll question you, अच्छा आपने अपने मकान की एक खिड़की बड़ी कर रखी है as per the norms, मैं आपका घर तोड़ दूंगा, पैसा दे दो नहीं तो मैं आपका घर तोड़ दूंगा. This is happening in Delhi. So we are giving this correct context. That's very important.
Okay, but I think he's disappointed that your leaders did not land on the spot there.
So
and
we
be
did
seen.
something which
I mean,
others
Delhi
were not
voted
doing.
for your party, but they didn't stand there.
We did something which others were not doing actually.
Okay, let me take these two quick questions here, the one in green and the check, and then please take the mic to the back benches so that we can take questions from there. Yeah.
Hello sir, myself Abhijit. I am an associate professor in Gitam Institute of Science. So when 2011, I still remember the Anna Hazare campaign started. I was doing my PhD in Chandigarh, and we were so inspired that we thought probably we'll also go there and sit. But eventually, I just went outside India for my education, and I was closely following the movements, all the transformation was happening. I was in US and following your social media channels and all. But in one of my trips in India, when I was landing in Delhi, I still remember that I was taking an auto from airport to one of my relatives' house, and I asked, "Kya chal raha hai Delhi mein?" And the auto driver said, "Sir, Delhi mein to Aam Aadmi Party chal raha hai." So that's when I realized that education has got so much of power to convert into a movement. And by then, probably those people also have already responded to whatever you are trying. So my question is, as you already mentioned, that many politicians, they don't try to touch because it's a long pending outcome. So when did you realize that it actually, the common people, Aam Aadmi, have responded to your activities and they have started accepting it?
Okay. Can I also request the mic to be taken back there, because I'm going to be a little partial to the students and get the students to ask questions there. Yes, your answer to this.
कब रियलाइज हुआ, क्योंकि अंदर से कमिटमेंट था तो किसी बाहर के किसी सोर्स से रियलाइज होने की जरूरत नहीं थी कि as a politician, as an authority, we have to work on education, come what may. People will definitely need and like it. But eventually जब दिल्ली में काम होना शुरू हुआ, हमने भी नहीं सोचा था, मतलब lot of well-wishers actually tried to tute us that, look, it's good that you are working education, 24 hours 7 you are talking about education, but still education will not give you that dividend in politics. I said, देखो boss, मैं एक चीज बोलता था हमेशा अपने लोगों को बोलता हूँ अपनी टीम्स को, don't work keeping the next election in mind. Work because you were voted in last election. Work in response to that. If you feel like that, then you are happy. अगर नेक्स्ट इलेक्शन को सोच के काम करेंगे तो फिर बहुत सारी चीजों का डर लगता है. लोगों का एहसान है. वी शुड बी थैंकफुल टू द पीपल दे वोटेड अस टू द पावर एंड वी शुड वर्क बिकॉज ऑफ दैट एंड इन रेस्पॉन्स टू दैट. So we keep working on education, and today people of Delhi voted us again with thumping majority just because of our work only. So work is respected, that was established. Education is important and can be delivered, and politically it can be made a priority of the politics. It is proven there.
Right. Okay, I'm going to take 2 questions from there. Yes, let's take 2-3 questions collectively and then we'll answer. The one who has the mic, please go ahead and speak. Whoever
Okay.
has the mic.
Good
Yeah.
morning, sir.
And brief questions, huh? Because of this light, I can't see.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm Kudus. I would have liked to spend the whole time asking you all questions that I have in mind, but the time is short. So I have 3 questions to ask, actually.
One question, please.
Okay, it's fine. The thing is that you are known to being a journalist right from time, and during the previous time, it's more, should I say, it's more easier to get a job as a journalist. But what do you think about the students that are planning or that are studying this journalist course right now? You know, the world we are now in technology world,
Yeah.
there are many students, there are many things that influence news, online, social media. So do you still think it's still a chance for them? Do you still think it's the right course for them to study as a journalist? Or what's your view on that?
Where are you from?
Ma'am?
Where are you from?
And what are you studying?
I'm Kudus. I'm studying computer application and I'm from Nigeria.
From Nigeria. Okay. Let me take one more question and
Yeah.
then he can give a collective answer. Somebody, please go ahead.
Hello. Hello, sir. My name is.
Just one second. The person here first, and then I'll come to you. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, Delhi people are, students are so fortunate to have you an education minister, and they've been enjoying a lot of your transformations and all. So, as far as your experiences are concerned, how much time does it take for other parts of India to have the same kind of an education model which has been implementing in India, in Delhi?
Okay. Good.
Okay.
And should we just take the third question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'll come back. Go ahead, please ask your question and then I'll take the answers.
Hello, sir. My name is Dhananjay, and I am currently studying in GIS BCA. My question to you is: recently, at 2020, the Indian government implemented the new education policy. So, what are your views on new Indian education policy, and where do you see its growth, and what are the major challenges of Indian education policy in future?
Okay. 3 fantastic questions, sir. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. I'll start
The-
from journalism thing. First of all, let me give a confession statement that you see, we all have questions in our minds, and I'm not here with a confidence or with a claim that I have answers to all the questions. So please bear with me. I am what I am. I don't have all the answers. I also have some questions for me also, and for my work also, and and I'm trying to grow as much, and I'm trying to do as much as possible. Journalism, you asked me that what is happening and what you see and what are the possibilities. I think things are evolving in all directions, and it has always been evolving in all directions. When I started, it was only one radio channel. Today we have so many radio channels in so many cities. It was in 2-3 cities only that time. Then very few TV channels. Now you have a lot of TV channels, more newspapers. Then you have social media. More YouTube was something, a new word that time when I was into journalism. Now YouTube is the platform. Social media has lot of platforms where people are saying what they want to say, and it's not that it's going in air. People are listening what they want to say. People are following them because they have something to say important. So I think there are more opportunities better than those years, I can say. Then coming to education, the second question, I would say that a good education model or a good education minister can be bought by your votes. You can also buy an education minister who work for education through your votes only. There is no other way. It's available. There are people who are dedicated to education. There are people who want to work for, who want to work honestly, who want to work for development and are serious about working on education. But we have to buy them. We have to buy them as education minister or chief minister through our votes only. That's the only way. We can buy more and more people who can work on education. You asked about education policy, the new education policy. New education policy again is a good document. I am saying again a good document. We have had a lot of other policies also. In 1986 we had some policy, in 66 we had some education policy. So every time a policy comes is a new education policy. It's again a good document having all the good things that are being said about education incorporated in a document. But how those things would be delivered, how those targets would be achieved, nobody knows, not even the policy. That's the problem. That's the problem with the policy. When, just to give you a concrete example, 66, 86, then 2005 curriculum framework, and then latest education policy that we are naming new education policy, everything claims, always claims, we won't have a rote learning system, we will have education, some education system which gives 360-degree understanding of the subject. We should avoid rote learning system. Now again in our new education policy we are writing that we won't have a rote learning system, we should avoid rote learning system. When in this country we accepted this that we'll have a rote learning system? We always have been saying we should not have rote learning system, we should have understanding of the subject, we should have education, we should deliver education in a way so that the things are understood by the student, they should not be rote learned. Whenever, we have never said that, but again we are writing in our education policy. But how would we do that? We are not doing, we are not working on it. We are again depending on the question paper of last 5 years to teach actually. So we have to transform our teacher education, we have to transform our deliveries, we have to transform our assessment systems, then only we can achieve those things which we have been writing since all education policies, and every education policy was a new education policy at one point of time.
And briefly, somebody asked there about the Delhi education model. How do you see that transforming in other states in a deadline sort of a way? But
yeah,
if I may ask you, are there some states from where you have been inspired and have put in something into your education model?
I have been learning from everywhere. Wherever I go, I visit schools, I meet teachers, I meet parents, I meet students, and I learn something from everywhere. So a lot of private schools are there whom I have learned in Delhi also, in other part of the country also. I went to Leh also to see how those schools are being run there. Sikkim also I went to learn.
Right.
Certain good models are there. All other states are also doing something good, so we all are learning from each other.
I mean, that's good. The exchange of notes to happen. Okay, I've identified 4 people for the this, and there's a young female student there. We'll go to her next. We'll come to the medical student here for sure, and then you, sir. I know you've been raising your hand for a while.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Yes, ask your question, please.
Hi, sir. This is Dr. Anil, School of Technology, Geetam. So, my question is, how are you convincing parents to send their kids to government schools? This question is being asked considering a lot of parents here in this auditorium, so that if you throw some light, maybe they can actually, encourage their kids to send to government school. At some point of time, I in this prospect.
Right.
Thank you.
I am not doing, I'll just quickly answer
sure.
this first. I am not doing anything extra to convince parents actually. Frankly, I have never done anything to convince the parents who are supposed to send their kids to schools that don't send them to private schools, send them to government schools. Since beginning, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and me, both of us have been thinking that let's focus on the students who we have got to teach. Don't focus on whom to bring and whom not to bring. Focus on whom you have got. So we have been giving better education to them, and as a cascading impact, everybody who is seeing the results is thinking that can I get admission? Can my son or my daughter get admission here? So they are being convinced by quality itself.
Is it true that you actually go and take stock of one school every day in the morning before you start your day?
Yeah, every day I get up at 7. I mean I get up at 5, but I leave my home at 7 to school daily.
So daily you visit a school and see whether things are working.
Almost daily.
I think that's very appreciable. Yeah, yes. Your question and then next your question and then I'll come to you, sir.
Yeah, we can have 2, 3 together in one block.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Richa from BSc Nursing.
Can you speak a little louder?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Richa from BSc Nursing third year. Sir, as you talked about fixing problem by applying education, and we are also a student, and we are also in the same situation that we get marks, but when situation comes, we don't know, we become bewildered that how to deal with it. So, sir, could you please explain that what do you think or what do you apply to change the mindset and to deal with the adverse situation of life?
Okay.
Sorry,
So dealing with adverse situation of life, how do you make your children smart through education, looking beyond marks? Your question, please. Here. Can we have a mic for her? Here. इधर सामने इनको दे दीजिए mic जल्दी से. One second, take the question.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Harita. I'm first year MBBS student. So my question is, there are many quotas for different classes and for women and for lower caste because they are in the poverty line and many of them really need help. But in the recent years, we have seen that poverty does not differentiate between the caste or gender. It affects everybody. There are many people from upper caste as well who deserve the quota and they are affected by poverty. So what are your thoughts on education quotas for everybody despite their caste and gender?
Right.
That's my question.
Thank you. Okay, will you answer these two? Then I'll come to, or you can ask a question, sir. Just take the third question and then we'll take the answers to him. Just a brief question, sir, please.
Yeah.
We can take in more students. I have another last 10 minutes to go before I end the conference.
Good morning. My name is KK Chand. I'm an adjunct professor from Andhra University, teaching for marine engineering people. Really, first I want to congratulate you, sir, for bringing such an education system in Delhi. Now everyone's eyes are towards Delhi, and to see that it is translated into other places. We are really delighted, sir, the way you have taken it forward. But of course, this question may not be for you to answer, but still I want to put this question where there's some answer also in it. See, just now when you were talking on the education, I was curious to see what rank is our country with respect to the world. I have seen 128th rank out of 164, made me so sad.
What index are you talking about?
Literacy index.
Literacy index.
Literacy index. So 128 out of 164 is 78.8% of the people are above us, and even Bangladesh is just standing next to us, 129, which makes me feel sad. So now I feel that Delhi is doing such an excellent job in education. A simple thing by the government is just to copy Delhi, that's it. I want to say in a simple manner, but then it's not happening because of whatever reasons are there. And the second thing which I would like to put the question is that, see, education is just said literacy is only reading and writing. I don't feel that itself completes literacy, but then we are taking that as the norm and then saying the education. Now, for the education, please see that, sir, the moral values, the ethical values, and the human values, if these are considered, the world will be a different place for the people to live.
Thank
you. How we can bring that into.
Okay, so these three quick
Thank
questions,
you. Thank you, sir.
I think they are related, the practical aspects, character building, and also the other question on quota politics, education quota.
Okay. So, adverse situation, yes, we all face adverse situation in our life, and education should actually prepare us for that, and education policies since beginning have been writing about this, that we have to prepare our students for adverse situations, but have not been doing it. So why we have not been doing it? Because we have been trying to teach them the subject, not the mindset. In Delhi, we have started working on it. It's a new experiment in education in Delhi, and I'm sure time will answer, but focusing on developing a mindset is equally important as teaching a subject. So we have been trying to do that. You can come to Delhi sometime and meet our students who are getting that education. We are having happiness curriculum, then entrepreneurship mindset curriculum. These are two mindset curriculums where we are trying to develop emotional mindset and professional mindset in our students. Then question about quota. It's a very tricky question to be asked to any politician, but yes, I would like to answer, and I would love to answer that. But before that, I would need to have honest answer from this house. How many of you actually belong to a family which is from a reserve category family?
Anyone from?
How many of you actually belong?
Okay, we have a couple of hands there.
Two,
some there.
Three, four, five,
six, around
seven,
7,
maybe.
8.
There are certain hands
around
there
one
also,
dozen,
maybe 10.
A dozen.
10, 12. Okay. How many seats are there in this house? About 1,000. Do you get the answer? In an august audience like this, which is full of educated or to be educated, highly educated audience, when I am asking how many of you come from those families who actually come from the families reserved for the quota, कितना बोला आपने, कितने हैं? 1000 लोगों में केवल 10-12 लोग वो हैं जो रिजर्व कैटेगरी की फैमिली से आते हैं. 990 लोग, if I say out of 1000, 990 people are still coming from those families who do not get reservation. I think this ratio itself is the answer why we need certain quota right now also. I don't want to go on political or practical or logics or do this practical anywhere. I have done because I answer in different forums this question, and I don't want to avoid this question, but I don't want to give a political answer. I want to give a practical answer to this. Go to a society where वाइजैक की सबसे पॉश कॉलोनी में चले जाइए, सबसे पॉश अपार्टमेंट में चले जाइए, सबसे पॉश मार्केट में चले जाइए और जाके देखिए कि कितने लोगों की दुकानें या कितने लोगों के घर पॉश कॉलोनीज में से एक्चुअली so called reserve or non reserve categories हैं. I think then you can drive your own answer rather than asking me. Thank you.
Okay.
Quickly answer third question also. You said about this
character building,
yeah, character building and all. You see, talking about moral education has been a lovely subject always for ever for education. But problem is that we have not identified again building a mindset and informing. I'll give you an example, and that's very important to understand this also. I come from the generation who actually had moral education as a subject in our schools at some senior level. What happened? We were taught the story of Raja Harishchandra. What is the story? Harishchandra was a king who was so honest, and he lost everything because of his honesty. He became so poor, he sacrificed his family for honesty, and then what happened? Some certain miracles happened and he got something good. That's good to learn actually, but when you go to a practical life, how many of you, especially I don't know from non-Hindi speaking families, but I come from a Hindi speaking family and the society, how many of you have not heard this for the people who are trying to be honest? यार बहुत बड़ा हरिश्चंद्र की औलाद बना हुआ है. How many of you have actually not heard when a son or daughter is going for some job, being a journalist or being an officer or being a politician? देखो बेटा, हम ये तो नहीं कहेंगे कि बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा ऐसे कमा लेना, पर ज़्यादा हरिश्चंद्र की औलाद बन के भी काम मत करना. किसी सरकारी ऑफिस में 4 लोग बैठते हैं, उनमें से सबसे ईमानदार आदमी का मजाक उड़ाया जाता है, भाई उसकी तो बात मत करो, देखो वो तो हरिश्चंद्र है. Why we have taught that story? To mock the people who are honest? No. We wanted something to be delivered but was not delivered. Rather, reverse has been delivered. हरिश्चंद्र मजाक बना दिया गया सोसाइटी में बिकॉज हमने प्रीचिंग करने की कोशिश की थी. सो मोरल साइंस इज नॉट ए प्रीचिंग सब्जेक्ट, इट्स ए प्रैक्टिकल सब्जेक्ट. वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू समथिंग इन हैप्पीनेस करिकुलम. आई वुड अगेन से प्लीज कम एंड विजिट. बट मैं 1 मिनट और लूंगा. हैप्पीनेस करिकुलम में हम कर क्या रहे हैं? हम हैप्पीनेस करिकुलम में कोई प्रीचिंग नहीं कर रहे हैं, मोरल स्टोरीज नहीं है. मोरल स्टोरीज और हैप्पीनेस की स्टोरीज में अंतर क्या है वो मैं आपको समझाना चाहता हूँ. फॉर एवरीबडी इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि ज़रूरी नहीं है हैप्पीनेस क्लास आपके लिए नहीं लगी तो आप उसको समझे ना. हमारे यहाँ एक स्टोरी है, बहुत छोटी सी स्टोरी है. देयर वाज दिस स्मॉल गर्ल हु वाज ट्राइंग टू गो अप ऑन द माउंटेन. हिज यंगर ब्रदर, शी वाज टेकिंग हर यंगर ब्रदर इन हर लैप. सो सम काइंड हार्टेड जेंटलमैन टॉक टू हिम, स्पोक टू हिम. बेटा बोझ से थक गई होगी, तुम्हारे बोझ को मैं ले लेता हूँ. शी वॉज टायर्ड एक्चुअली. सो तुम थक गई होगी बोझ से, तुम्हारे बोझ को मैं गोद में ले लेता हूँ, मैं उठा लेता हूँ. दिस गर्ल रिप्लाइड, सर ये बोझ होगा आपके लिए, मेरे लिए तो मेरा भाई है. शी रिप्लाइड. तो इन मोरल साइंस एजुकेशन द स्टोरी एंड्स हियर एंड देन क्वेश्चंस कम. लड़की ने क्या जवाब दिया, क्यों थक गई थी, वो क्यों पूछ रहा था, ये क्यों पूछ रहा था. इफ यू आंसर एज पर द कॉपी ऑफ द स्टोरी, script of the story, you get 1 mark or 2 marks. You don't get anything out of the story. In happiness curriculum, what we are doing, we are requesting a teacher, don't end the story here. Help the students identifying in their own life how many times in day-to-day life they are actually considering any relationship as a burden or as a relation in their own families. So we don't conclude that it's a very small story. In typical moral science class, it ends in half an hour maximum or maybe 10 minutes. But in our happiness class, it actually goes on for weeks and weeks, because every day we ask students, कल 24 घंटे में किस रिलेशनशिप को आपने रिलेशनशिप के रूप में लिया और किसको बर्डन के रूप में लिया, अपना बताओ. That's what we do there.
Very interesting, in fact, a concept. Okay, I'm just going to take the last 2 questions. I've run out of time. One from the person in the black shirt at the second last row. And I will take 1 question from you. I have 1 question from the Director for External Relations.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Abhishek Kumar, BSc Nursing first year student. सर, दिल्ली के जैसे हम लोग अपने स्टेट में एजुकेशन सिस्टम प्लस हेल्थ सिस्टम को कैसे चेंज कर सकता हूँ? उसके लिए पॉलिटिक्स में आना क्या जरूरी कंपलसरी है क्या?
I have answered that question, but yes, again. Then second, next question.
I'll answer this. सामने इनको दे दीजिएगा यहाँ पर. There is a medical student. Yeah, come in front. And Mr. Orko, who is the Director for External Relations, he actually wants to ask that as a reluctant or politician with no political backing or legacy and having come into it pretty late, would you recommend a right age at which a person should enter politics, or do you believe the earlier the better? That's another question for you. A final question from you, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dinesh. I am a first year MBBS student. Sir, I'm a huge fan of Kejriwal, sir.
Thank you.
The way he handled the O2 crisis during the COVID pandemic. Sir, I just want to ask you a single question. Sir, actually, what could be the reasons why there is so much inadequate expansion of the healthcare infrastructure? Sir, like, there are only 1 seat for 24 students who are participating in the NEET. Why couldn't we decrease the ratio?
Sorry, what?
On NEET, on the medical, you know, one of the questions I had pointed out to, that lack of medical resources and the seats are so disproportionate when it comes to medical. So yes, your final answers, please.
Yeah, I think we need to have more and more seats. Why should our students go to Ukraine and then study and then face trouble? We should have more and more qualitative seats for every student who's, and we actually need, it's not कि हम हमारे सामने बच्चे खड़े हैं इसलिए उनको पढ़ाने के लिए कुछ बनाओ. As a country, we actually need more and more medical professionals. We need more and more medical facilities. So we should, I don't know what as a nation and what other state, but in Delhi we are trying to expand as much as possible and at a rapid rate. The last gentleman's question, what we have to do to get.
Yes.
I think the biggest prize, that biggest earning that we have in a democracy in our pocket is our vote. We have to spend our vote very wisely. We spend it for politicians who come and tell you to behave like gundas, or we can spend on politicians who actually tell you to behave like, to be educated and behave like educated. It's our choice. मैं ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं पॉलिटिशियंस को इसमें से कोई ये कह रहा हूँ कि नहीं नहीं उन्होंने कुछ गलत नहीं किया, पॉलिटिशियंस ने बहुत गड़बड़ की है बहुत समय पे, बट कहीं ना कहीं जहाँ जहाँ इसकी नीड है वहाँ वहाँ हम सबको मिलके अपने वोट को बहुत वाइजली यूज़ करना पड़ेगा फॉर एजुकेशन. दैट्स द ओनली वे आउट. उसके अलावा मेरे को तो कुछ दिखता नहीं है, क्योंकि एक कॉलेज, एक स्कूल, with due respect to the team here who is working with such a fantastic university, still you have limitations. मेरे यहाँ दिल्ली जैसे शहर में, which is very small part of the country, 2.5 lakh student come out of school every year, or maybe 3 lakh student come out of school every year. अगर आप 24,000 बच्चों के लिए एक अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी बना भी देते हैं, still you are one entity. The government has huge scale to do something. Government should also do it. Private people do it. Different sectors should do it, should provide quality education, but ultimate responsibility lies with the government, and we have to choose a government who is serious about education. That's the only answer.
Mr. Arko, would you like to raise your hand for your question? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had the question about the right age for entry into politics.
You are into perfect age to enter into politics. Please join. That's your age is the perfect age. What's your age? What's your age? Actually, I entered into politics almost on the same age. But let me tell you one thing. When I was leaving Z News, a lot of well-wishers actually told me, I was not entering into politics, but I was coming out from a very well-defined, well-earning and काफ़ी नाम फेम मिल रहा था from a profession to a nowhere, no voice profession की social work करेंगे जाके. So मेरे सारे दोस्तों ने, well-wishers ने, सबने बहुत कहा था कि ये सब काम ना 60 years के बाद करना. तो the answer I gave, I can repeat that. मैंने उनको ये बोला था, यार मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि my country needs me right now. I don't know when I am 60 I'll be useful for the country or not. So let me join for the service of the country. देखेंगे घर तो चली जाएगा.
I think that's a great way to. I'm really sorry we have no time. We can go on and on with our questions. I'll just use my chair to ask you a last question, because politics has become such an expensive affair, even to fight a corporation election to an assembly election. How do you really open up spaces for having more honest and people who can deliver to come into elections? I mean, fighting elections itself is such an exorbitant affair today. So how do you do that, and what is the one skill set that you would suggest any student who wants to come into the political mainstream that you should have?
एक तो ड्रीम होना चाहिए देश के लिए. अगर पॉलिटिक्स में आना चाहते हैं तो देश के लिए कोई एक ड्रीम पाल के रखिए. उसके अपने लिए नहीं, अपने अभी मैक्सिमम ऐसा नहीं है कि पॉलिटिशियन, हम तो पहले पॉलिटिशियन नहीं है, या ऐसा नहीं है कि आप और हम नहीं आए थे पॉलिटिक्स में तो लोग पॉलिटिशियन में नहीं थे. दिस वर्ल्ड इज फुल ऑफ पॉलिटिशियंस, ऑलवेज हैव बीन फुल ऑफ पॉलिटिशियंस. बट the only difference between some of them and some of them who are not that is कि some of them have dream for themselves only, कि मुझे पार्षद बनना है, मुझे काउंसलर बनना है, मुझे एमएलए बनना है, मुझे मिनिस्टर बनना है, मुझे चीफ मिनिस्टर बनना है, मुझे प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनना है. दैट इज द ट्रैक ऑफ हैविंग ड्रीम्स. सही गलत नहीं है, बट मुझे लगता है उससे देश को कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला. यू हैव ए ड्रीम कि मुझे एजुकेशन ठीक करनी है, मुझे हेल्थ ठीक करना है, मुझे रूरल डेवलपमेंट ठीक करना है, मुझे वाटर सेक्टर ठीक करना है. कहीं अपना एक कंट्रीब्यूशन आइडेंटिफाई करिए और उसके बाद फिर किसी भी प्रोफेशन में घुस जाइए. फिर इंजीनियर बन जाइए, फिर आईएएस बन जाइए, फिर पत्रकार बन जाइए. आपको हर जगह मजा आएगा. पॉलिटिशियन बन जाइए, फिर भी मजा आएगा. मेरे साथ यही हुआ है. मुझे पॉलिटिक्स में आने से पहले मतलब एजुकेशन की समझ आने लगी थी और लगने लगा था कि यार एजुकेशन के बिना देश खड़ा नहीं हो सकता. व्हेन आई गॉट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी, पॉलिटिक्स में आके करने लगे. नहीं भी आते पॉलिटिक्स में, शायद सोशल वर्क में कुछ एजुकेशन पे कर रहे होते, शायद जर्नलिज्म में किसी एक समय पे आके अगर मैं जर्नलिज्म नहीं छोड़ता तो शायद आज जर्नलिज्म में कुछ ऐसा कर रहा होता जो एजुकेशन पे. बट माय कमिटमेंट इज फॉर एजुकेशन, नॉट फॉर प्रोफेशंस एंड पोस्ट्स. सो whoever want to do something more creative and more bigger than life, please dedicate yourself to some cause. उसको आ जाएंगे तो फिर लोग भी सपोर्ट करने वाले मिल जाते हैं जब आप जेन्युइनली वो कर रहे हैं. मैंने पहला इलेक्शन, यू सेड अबाउट द मनी, जब मैंने पहला इलेक्शन लड़ा 2013 में दिल्ली, द इलेक्शन कमीशंस लिमिट फॉर मैक्सिमम एक्सपेंसेस वाज आई थिंक 8 lakh rupees then. So I contested my first election in 4 lakhs.
Oh wow.
In 2013, and yes, because we were not we were serious and my team was serious. So what happened, this is very important, I'll again take 1 minute to explain this. In my first election, when we were campaigning, so शुरू में तो हम ही लोग कर रहे थे, then BJP के candidate were declared, then Congress candidates were declared, and there was a lot of competition on the ground in last maybe 27 days, 25 days. So all those candidates were having conventional way of contesting election. They started big food cafes for their volunteers, बड़े बड़े लंगर लगाए जाने लगे, लंगर समझते हैं आप, food
community
kitchens खोल दी गई, बहुत सारे luxury foods from different restaurants were being ordered in their offices. So some of my well-wishers also told me, आप भी ये कर लो यार, fund हम arrange कर देंगे, but समझो volunteers का motivation बनाए रखना ज़रूरी है. I said with the volunteers, I asked them that, look, I can arrange the money, but do we need that? You all come from the local houses, हम सब अपने अभी तक campaigning घर से खाना लाके करते रहे हैं. Can we continue with that, or should I borrow more money from someone and arrange the luxurious and 5-star food for you? Every volunteer of mine said, no, we'll continue as we have been doing. And I genuinely, मतलब 4 लाख रुपए में इलेक्शन लड़ा था मैं against 8 lakh. Next election it came, it was around, I think limit was 16 lakh. I raised that and I think 10-12 lakh में लड़ा. Third election, latest election, the limit was, the bar was raised to 27 lakh. तब तक एक नई वेबसाइट आ गई थी फंड रेजिंग की. I uploaded my biodata that I want to raise funds for my election, 27 lakhs. In 3 days I got 27 lakhs, and people from Tripura, from Manipur, from Andhra Pradesh donated for clean politics for a person like me to contest election from Patparganj. So believe me, the world is full of good people who want to support. But first of all, we have to make them believe that we are actually doing something good for the nation, not for ourselves only.
So when you're not having ghar ka tiffin, what is your favorite cuisine otherwise?
Pizza somewhere or ice cream?
Pizzas. I think I'll have Shri M. Bharat, the president, here to felicitate you, and hopefully that will be a part of the lunch. But before I end a final, as I said, I want you to channelize your inner RJ, go back to your 0-hour days, and maybe end this conversation with a message कि no brain drain.
अभी practice नहीं रही है बोलने की.
Anything spontaneous?
अभी तो आप बोलो कि भाषण देके दिखाओ तो मैं कर सकता हूँ. अभी वो छोड़ दो.
Okay, chalo. Can we have Mr. M. Bharat here on the stage, please? And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your questions.
Mic, please. Thank you so much, and my apologies to everyone whose questions we couldn't accommodate, but great to be here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manish.